Hey friend, welcome back to my channel. Today I am spilling all the tea on my first ever 3-day market, and let's just say it was not what I expected. From very low foot traffic to terrible communication from the organizers, this event was both exciting and nerve-wracking. Let's get into it. But first, welcome to all the new faces here. My name is Munduna, the founder of House of Imela, a handmade skincare brand that aims to eliminate dry and ashy skin so that you can glow from the inside out. And on this channel, you're going to find business content like this and faith-based content that just shows you how I am doing this thing called life with Jesus. And so I hope you're going to love it here and choose to stay by subscribing to the channel. So let's get into the story. Now, it's officially market day and I was super excited to share how things went. This was actually my very first 3-day market. I've only ever done 1-day events before. My first market was actually on Mother's Day and it lasted about 5 hours. And so this one was supposed to run from Friday through Sunday. And naturally, I was both excited and nervous for this new experience. And the market took place at the Urban Convention Center right here in Texas, which honestly sounded super promising at first. The location was beautiful and well organized. So I came in excited, thinking this was going to be, one of those amazing vendor events where shoppers come ready to discover and support small businesses. But here's where things got a little confusing and honestly kind of disappointing. It turns out this wasn't really a vendor-centered event at all. It was actually a full-on convention with the vendors kind of like thrown in as more of a bonus feature rather than the main attraction. We were essentially just there to fill up space or give, the attendees something to browse in between the actual scheduled activities of the convention. And so as vendors, we quickly realized we were just a small part of the overall program and not the focus. And let me tell you, that became painfully obvious very fast. People weren't necessarily there to shop or engage with our booths. They were mostly focused on the speakers, the panels, or just the other activities the convention had lined up. And so while it was a great space to be in, it didn't quite deliver the turnout or the engagement we were hoping for as small business owners. And so day one, it is Friday, the harsh reality checks in. I got to the venue around 9 a.m. To set up, and I was very ready to have a productive day and just excited, pumped. But when I got there, things were a little bit chaotic from the beginning. Registration was very slow, communication was all over the place, and it seemed like there was no direction for us vendors. Nonetheless, I managed to finish setting up my table around 10:30, somewhere there. But even then, I wasn't sure what I was going to expect because it was, like I said, it was just chaotic, and it was all I could see were organizers and vendors. I couldn't see nobody. No one else was there. So we are sitting there waiting for people to come in and start to shop, but it is dead, quiet. And then eventually one of the sponsors came by to my booth. I guess he was making his rounds, talking to different vendors and everything. And he stopped by my booth and he made a purchase, and he was my first customer of the day. And that gave me so much hope. I thought to myself, okay, maybe this is going to surprise me. And that was, I want to say, around 11:30 when I made my first sale, and I had been there from 9. And from that time until 5 p.m., I only had 2 transactions. 2. This is the thing. What I didn't realize at the time, and no one clearly communicated, was that from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday was actually just registration time for the convention itself. So vendors were already set up and waiting. but the actual foot traffic didn't start until way later, after 5 p.m. Then people finally began to trickle in, and a few of them came into the hall where we were, and we're like just browsing through. I managed to make a few sales during that time, but from, I want to say, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m., by the time we wrapped up, I made 8 transactions, bringing me to about $180. And while I was grateful for each and every sale and customer, it didn't take long. It wasn't enough for me to recover my vendor fee. And my plan was to have at least Friday be the day where I made up my vendor fee. And the vendor fee was $300. That was $100 per day. And so closing out day one under that amount definitely had me feeling anxious and very unsure about what the rest of the weekend was going to look like. But I kept hope alive, and I kept reminding myself, God is in control. God is in control. I kept telling myself that. So moving on to day 2, Saturday. I got there around 9 a.m. Again for day 2. And by this time, I didn't really have to do much because I knew where my booth was. I had a few items already there. I just brought a few products that I had taken back with me the night before. So there wasn't much going on. I was ready to start selling in no time. And thankfully, this time around, my husband came along with me. And honestly, I think he just saw how defeated and drained I was after the first day, and he didn't want me to go through it alone. He stayed with me the entire day, stood by me, helped me where he could, and just encouraged me through the quiet stretches. And it was just a blessing to have him there, and I'm just so thankful. But y'all, what happened next completely blew my mind. So what happened was, after some digging and inquiring, I found out that over 1,500 people had actually registered to attend this convention. 1,500 people registered to attend the convention. That sounds amazing, right? You would think with that kind of turnout, all the vendors would be flooded with traffic. But here's the thing. Most of those people didn't even know we were there. We were literally tucked away in a back hole. And unless somebody said, hey, down that hole, there are vendors, you wouldn't know that we were there. There was no signage, no direction, nothing. If, like I said, if someone didn't direct you to that hole, you would walk right past it, not knowing what's going on. Meanwhile, the front and the upper levels had a few vendors. Most of them were sponsors who probably paid top dollar for visibility, and understand. But the rest of us, around 40 small business owners, we were placed in the back with no foot traffic, nothing. And I really wasn't the only one feeling dejected by this point. Every single vendor that I spoke to felt exactly the same way. Disappointed, frustrated, let down. The turnout didn't match the promise. The setup made no sense. And just the whole thing felt like it was a missed opportunity, if you know what I mean. It was so disappointing. And at one point that day on a Saturday, I felt myself, my eyes swelling up, and I quickly ran to the restroom because I was like, I am not going to cry in front of these people. If you know me, I am such a crybaby. I got so emotional. I was so disappointed, and I just went into the restroom and I prayed and I said, Lord, I must have made a mistake because I don't know what is going on. Anyway, fast forward to my boohoo moment. I went back to my booth, and one of the event organizers came by who I knew very well, and I respectfully but very honestly expressed how I was feeling. And I also let him know that, listen, vendors had invested not only money but time to be here, and it just did not make any sense that these 1,500 attendees don't even know that we exist. It just doesn't make sense. And to their credit, they actually listened. During the main convention programming, they made an announcement, a formal announcement, encouraging the attendees to check out the vendor hall and go and shop. And when I tell you that announcement made all the difference for us, because things quickly changed. People came in. It was like a whole different environment. And this was like around 1 p.m. We had a good rush of people. And I guess this was like lunchtime, so they had a break. People started pouring in, stopping at the booths, asking questions, smelling products, trying on stuff, shopping, engaging. This was the kind of energy we were hoping for from day one. And from like 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., I made over 20 transactions, more than I had made the entire day on Friday. If that's not God, then I don't know who that is. Honestly, if that rush hadn't happened, I wouldn't have walked away from that weekend without even making back my vendor fee. But thank God, thank you, Jesus. By the end of Saturday, I had not only made my vendor fee, I doubled that fee. I even made a small profit on top of that. So when I say God really came through for us, He really did. Because just when I was about to count it as a loss and just write it all off, He reminded me that I see you and I see everything that's happening. And I'm just so grateful that that announcement made a difference for us. And we managed to make some sales during that 2-hour window when we had a rush of people pouring in. And I could see the other vendors also were, smiling and laughing and talking and everything. We were encouraged, we're like, okay, I guess we can do this, for another day. So as I was packing up that Saturday, day 2, getting ready to leave, because I was going to carry a few things with me back home. I didn't want to leave my products there because, I just didn't trust that it was secure enough to just leave all of my stuff there. So I'm packing up, and I noticed other vendors are leaving, packing, and taking everything with them. So I looked up and I, kind of like waved to the one of the vendors that I had made a connection with. And I was like, hey girl, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Take care. Drive safe. And she looks at me. She's like, tomorrow? We're not here tomorrow. I said, why? Why are you not coming back? She said, the hall is closed. They don't have access to the hall on Sunday. I said, who's there? Because I'm coming tomorrow. She said, no, this is it. It's only Friday and Saturday.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I was completely thrown. We were told this was a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's what I signed up for. But apparently, no one cared to mention that the venue was going to be closed on Sunday. Like completely shut down, no access, no setup, no sales, nothing. Had it not been for that vendor telling me, I would have drove the next morning to a closed building. So in reality, what was advertised as a 3-day market ended up being one rushed sales day. Friday was just registration. Remember, there was no foot traffic from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And even then, it was less than 1% of that 1,500 people that had registered to attend that convention who came to that hall on Friday. And then Saturday, thank God for that little window that we had. That rush helped us because Sunday, that was it. No Sunday. And so I paid $300 thinking I was investing in a full weekend of exposure, networking, and, just potential growth. But what I actually got was 1 day of real selling time, and that was so disappointing. I've never felt so misled or frustrated by an event. I've never felt so disrespected as a business person. Like, this could have been so different if they had just been clear from the beginning, just open communication from the start. Like, give me the choice to decide if I want to participate or not. Give me all the details that I need to make my decision, but it was nothing like that. I literally just signed up for this thing on faith. That's all. So this experience was definitely one for the books. It had its highs and plenty of lows, but I also came out of it a lot wiser, a little more cautious, and I'm still standing. And glory be to God. I will still continue to sign up for other markets and attend other vendor events. I'm taking with me, moving forward, lessons learned from this event. In the future, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions up front, not just about dates and fees, but about foot traffic, vendor visibility, marketing plans, all the details that matter. I'm going to absolutely get everything that I need in writing. If it's not in an email or contract, it doesn't count. And I'm going to pay close attention to how organizers communicate. If things feel unclear or disorganized before the event, that's probably a red flag I shouldn't ignore. And most importantly, I'll be avoiding any future events that aren't 100% vendor focused. If we're just an afterthought in a bigger program, it's probably not worth the investment. So yes, it was a wild ride, and yes, I was disappointed. And even with everything that went wrong, I am so grateful I still made back my vendor fee and a little profit on top of that. He covered what I couldn't control, and for that, I say thank you, Jesus. And I'm walking away with gratitude and a whole lot of wisdom for next time. And I also want to acknowledge some family members who came out to support, who knew about this event and came out to support and bought something from my booth. You guys literally saved the day, and I'm so thankful. You didn't have to, but you did, and for that I'm eternally grateful. And I just want to say God bless you and thank you, thank you, thank you. And to you guys, my fellow business owners, if you're watching this and you're a fellow business owner, creative, a vendor, whatever it is that you do, if you're thinking about doing a market, please learn from my experience. Ask questions, all of them. Don't feel bad for wanting clarity. It's your business, your time and your money and your peace of mind on the line. So pay attention to how people communicate. Read the fine print, and don't be afraid to walk away if something feels off. Every opportunity isn't always your opportunity. The truth is, this journey is not going to be easy, and it can be exhausting, discouraging, and lonely at times, especially when things don't go as planned. But let me remind you of something God had to remind me during this event. The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. And that's Exodus 14:14. Even when it looked like a loss, God showed up. Even when the crowd was thin and the sales were slow, He provided. Even when I felt invisible, He saw me, and He sees you too. So don't give up. Learn as you go. Grow through what you're going through, and trust that God is always working behind the scenes, lining things up in ways you can't even imagine. He has your back, and He will continue to. All you gotta do is remain faithful. Prepare so that when the opportunity comes, you are ready to meet that opportunity. And so if this video has helped you and encouraged you, or even just given you a little bit of clarity, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear your story. If you've ever been a vendor and had an experience like this, what did you learn from it? Drop it in the comments, because we are not just here building businesses, we are building each other up. So keep going, and remember, God's got you always. And until then, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was long, I'm so sorry, but thank you for hanging with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.